Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am just talking freely from a question that I received from one of you guys. The scripts do take a while to make, so I figured I'd spice it up a bit with a video such as this one. So I got a comment from one of you guys and it read like this: I would like a video on dealing with rejection from men. It's hard feeling like you're the prize or resting in your being energy when dealing with rejection from men that you like. So she did go into clarifying a bit, but basically, you know, when you're being ghosted via dating apps, like a guy is taking a liking to you, conversations are flowing really nicely, and then all of a sudden he just stopped responding, or you know, if someone has set a date up for you but then on the day they just never respond, or anything basically where a guy is seemingly interested but then he just dips out. And the thing is, if you are truly in your feminine energy, you technically cannot be rejected from men. You can only be picked or not picked, and that's essentially the whole thing about attracting and not chasing. Being in your feminine energy is largely about letting go of control. And if you're sitting in the energy or in the feeling that you're being rejected from men that you like, then you haven't let go of control. Because if you're sitting at the center of yourself and letting men come to you, then there is really nothing to reject. So let's say you're sitting in your feminine energy, you're on dating apps, and a guy is seemingly pursuing you, or at least pursuing conversations with you. If that guy then stop responding, that's really not a rejection of you. That is him not picking you. And you gotta let go of that. Like, you gotta let go of this mentality of judging when a guy is coming for you or not. You are the prize, but you aren't the prize for every guy. And it's essentially up to a man to assess what woman out there is his feminine ideal. And when a guy finds his feminine ideal, he's going to try to be good enough for her. But if you're not his feminine ideal, he's not gonna be that interested. That's what they mean when they say that when a guy knows, he knows. So if you are putting your value as a feminine partner on whether or not a guy is picking you, but you're doing this with every guy, you are bound to feel disappointed because, again, you aren't going to be the price of every man. Not every man is going to want you, and you are by far not going to be every man's ideal feminine. So from a dating app perspective, try to look at it like this. You are sitting on the app as a feminine woman, and you are getting a bunch of matches. And I don't think there's anything wrong with texting first, which you might be a little bit surprised with, but I feel like making the initiative, it doesn't even have to be the initiative, that just means dropping the handkerchief. And if you watched a bunch of the videos on my channel, you might have seen the one on dropping the handkerchief. So let's say that a guy is messaging you first or you're messaging him first. That really is not important. But what happens after that, that should really be up to him. And you can't pick the guy that you're most interested in getting to know and then be disappointed if he doesn't feel the same way. You're essentially sitting there and then observing who is coming for you, who is coming to get you, and then you see yourself as the prize in the eyes of the men that want you. You don't see yourself as the prize in the eyes of the men that does not want you. Remember that when you are getting excited at the early prospects of a man, you're essentially getting excited at nothing. You're getting excited at words or a fantasy that he's building up for you. Not necessarily on purpose. A lot of the time, you know, we're building it up in our own minds, but you're essentially getting hooked onto something that doesn't exist yet. And if you truly are in your feminine energy, you don't do that because you don't create something false out of something that doesn't exist. Take, for example, Gia from Singles Inferno. Gia is probably the perfect human example of not chasing but attracting. And what Gia did when she arrived at the island was that she dropped the handkerchief with all the guys, or she was friendly with all of the men, and then whoever of the guys wanted to pursue her, she just let them. And then she took on the role as the feminine judge. And that's essentially all you have to do as the feminine. You are there to be receptive and judgmental of what a man is offering you. So when Gia came to the island, and at first 3 out of the 5 or 6 guys, or how many there were, decided to pursue her, Gia didn't start to put her focus onto the 2 or 3 men that weren't interested in her. I mean, she didn't also really put her focus into the men that were interested in her. She just leans back into her being energy and then let the men come to her. And she does that persistently, also after they're getting to know her. And that's essentially what you should be doing as well in your feminine energy. And being receptive doesn't mean being passive. I am coming out with a video on this because I feel like people often get the two confused. Because you're definitely not supposed to be passive as you are getting to know a guy. You are supposed to be a happy and willing participant if you're into him. But early days, you're essentially there to judge him and his behavior and not his words. And when a man seemingly is interested in you, but then dips out when you're talking with him. I mean, I think most of us have tried this. I have most certainly tried this, and it is really, really difficult to deal with, for sure. But you can't jump to conclusions. We don't know what is actually happening. Maybe an ex re-entered the picture. Maybe he actually wasn't as interested as he led you on to be. He was maybe just hoping that you were going to chase him. There are so many different reasons, and the healthy feminine response to a situation like this is to let go of the situation, to let go of control, to let go of the analysis of why that might have happened. Because then what tends to happen is we enter this mental maze of trying to figure out why he dipped out. But as a feminine being, all you're supposed to do is receive. You're supposed to just accept that he did that, let go of control, and let go of trying to find meaning in what he's doing. If you want to help yourself out a little bit, for example, when it comes to dating apps, I suggest that you make yourself available and make sure that you're messaging all of the guys back that you have just a potential interest in getting to know, instead of getting hyper-focused on the one that you are the most interested in. Because when you don't leave your options open in the very beginning, then yeah, some of us, we tend to become hyper-focused and we start this fantasy in our mind. So instead, open yourself up to letting all the guys who wants to pursue you do so, of course within reason. You only want to actually let the guys that you're interested in being pursued by pursue you. But keep an open mind at first, instead of just getting hooked on the one you want to pursue you the most. Because if you aren't his feminine ideal, there is nothing you can do to forcibly make him come pursue you. And that has nothing to do with you. You just aren't the woman for him. And there's nothing you can do or change to become that woman. You're supposed to become your own best woman, and you will be some man's feminine ideal. And that's essentially where all of this thing with being and being receptive comes in. Because none of this is going to work on a man who aren't truly into you to begin with, for whatever reason.